Okay,
All right, we're all set.
okay. Well, welcome everyone to Facilities Committee. First, I'd like to get an approval of the March 18th meeting minutes. If someone, and
So
Mike
moved.
won't be here tonight, so
So moved.
did you get them yet, Peg?
Yeah, I did make the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, in that case, I will second it. Any discussion?
No.
Okay, me neither. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. So next we'll move on to some old business, which I'm thinking is going to be on our old business list for a while, but that's okay. I'll turn it over to Doug. How are we doing with our Giza, the chiller, all the fun stuff we're working on?
Melanie, I'm gonna
Oh, yeah.
yield to Dr. Farina so she can provide us an update on the full day K furnishings.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Dr. Farina.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I said I'm Zoom bombing tonight because yesterday we were able to secure the quote and the renderings from Corbett. So we have some work to do, but I came to facilities tonight because there are some things that are timely that I wanted to share with facilities, and in honor of the committee structure, I wanted you to see it first with hope that we could move some of it on to our May or next week to our workshop meeting. So I'm just going to share quickly, and of course, my intention is of course to send this out to
Everybody.
in the board update on Friday. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
So essentially the goal of the furniture budget when we talked way back, we've been talking about this a while. The budget was around 250,000 for furniture. I can tell you right now what I'm showing you is $163,000, and that may even change. That may even change based on some feedback Mo is getting from the kindergarten teachers. So
are you saying we're coming under budget?
yeah, I'm saving money all over the place today. No.
We canceled this weekend's bake sale.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
Wait, Doug's not done. Doug didn't go yet. So
no wonder Sandy's sitting down.
So ultimately, the process, it involved the administration. We had some kindergarten teachers go to Corbett. The Corbett came out 3 times to look at the facilities. Really, we were not looking at a full-scale renovation. We are trying to create some space and create some continuity in those classrooms so that they are offering the kids a safe learning environment, knowing some of the limitations we have structurally. And so each of the classrooms is configured very differently in layout, not necessarily in size. So I won't show you all of these. They all have the essential components. So teachers were given 3 options in packages around tables, reading tables, soft seating, teachers, storage, bookcases. So each of the classrooms will have those. How those look in the classrooms is dependent on what, the structure entails.
The configuration, right.
Yeah. So basically the feedback that we received is storage. And you see this classroom, it's set for a classroom of 25, teacher's desk, reading desk, teacher's wardrobe with closed storage, open storage, bookcases, and cubbies. And those are about 18 inches deep and 22 inches wide. They don't give you that perspective in the rendering. And so in fairness to our kindergarten teachers, they have only seen this since today. And so Mo is eliciting some feedback. I know she called me today, and one of the things she heard is they don't want any soft seating. So, I'm going to continue working with Corbett on the quote when they finalize those recommendations. I come to you because the casework has about a 10-week lead, and that is all the storage. I mean, you all know we've been in this game. We've done this now for this will be 3 times. You know, and that is the most costly. The quote that I have is 163,000 in totality, with exception of installation of the furniture. It does include installation of the casework. So that 160,000 is respective of the labor for casework, which we know is the most expensive. So, you know, my hope is that I can share the quote. I fully intend to share it with the board. It is here. It does include the soft seating. So if ultimately Mo hears from the kindergarten team that is not something that they'd like to pursue, you know, my hearing from Mo was that they're really more interested in sort of a carpet so the kids just sit on the ground. And that the soft seating may create more of an obstacle than anything else, or just, you know, a gymnasium kind of feel.
That makes sense.
And so, you know, there may be an exchange for an additional bookshelf here and there. She's going to continue working with them, but I wanted to present the highest cost for this furniture would be $163,000. It may be that it comes down as they sort of eliminate soft seating and insert bookcase. The soft seating is expensive. I mean, truthfully, it is. So, you know, you can just even see here, those little things come out to like $3,500. So I can answer any questions. I know there's some kindergarten teachers who are at the meeting. In fairness to them, they haven't seen it, but you know, it's my hope that the committee would allow me to move forward the casework at a minimum so we could get that ordered.
I don't see a reason not to do that. Peg, are you good with that?
Yeah, did you say that the kindergarten teachers are present tonight?
Yeah, there are some. I see Tanya Culp, I see Lisa Gross.
Well, I would certainly want to hear, hi Tanya, I would certainly want to hear their input if they have any comments.
I think we love the casework. We love the tables. Some of the round soft seat is nice as an option for students to sit at. But a lot of it, what happens with the bench, we don't have the floor space. And if you had children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews, where do they play?
On the floor.
On the floor. So that was our biggest concern, was we need floor space for them to be able to move. And centers aren't just at tables. Centers are over here on the carpet. Centers are over here on the floor because you need to write. Centers are at tables. So that's all. So thank you, Andrea, for listening to us. And we can continue to work on that.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I said, we got it yesterday. I think you only saw it today. So some work to do. But that 10-week lead time for casework, we would love to get it early and installed.
Yep. I agree. We have Dana on too. So you have 3 of us that can say, I'm okay with it. Peg, are you good with it?
I think it's great. And the kindergarten teachers here with us tonight. How excited are you about, this has got to be so exciting for you guys. It's exciting for me, and I'm just an old person. It's awesome.
Thank you.
To have storage to put stuff in and hide it instead of just open shelves.
Yep. That's awesome.
Great.
Yeah,
All right,
the
well,
other thing, Andrea, I
go
love how you left some leeway in there that if we decide we need some more shelving for kids' books, because we don't want to hide everything. Kids, and especially kindergarten, first grade, need books. They need to be able to pick books up, sort through books. So having the option to add some more open shelves for the kids' materials would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, when we talked about doing this, we wanted feedback. I have never been a kindergarten teacher, ever. So I have no idea.
Yep.
Teaching high school doesn't ever bring out that kind of material. So,
But is it having that part uniform? Like, knowing I have a husband who's very handy. He has made so many bookshelves that are currently being stored in our house. He would love to repurpose them for some other reason if we have actual district looking nice shelves than all the ones he's made that store all of the kids' books. It'd be really nice.
Yeah, so like I said, Mo will continue to work with you all. And then, we can find that stuff does not have a lead time, like the bookshelves and those kinds of things. It's really the casework that has a time sensitive order.
Yep, I agree. Dana, want to weigh in on anything? Are you good with that? Going ahead with the casework orders?
I have a granddaughter starting kindergarten next year, so sounds
Perfect.
great. That's heavily.
That's great. Direct benefit. Okay, so I think you've got your answer there. Peg, you're good with it?
Yep.
All right.
Let's roll.
Put it
And I'm even more thrilled that we're under budget. I mean, you
Me
can't.
too. Me
It's
too.
just that many less bake sales and car washes. That's all I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's two. Yeah. All right, awesome. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Dr. Farina. And if you want to pop out, you can. Thank you for
Oh,
coming.
thanks. Boy, I like that.
Yep, you can. Just wiggle your nose.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. And thank you, kindergarten teachers. I'm glad you're excited, and I can't wait till we have full day K. It'll be awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Great job.
Yep. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the old chiller, the old Giza project, and see how they're going.
So a brief update on our Giza project. The major milestone that we're trying to hit at this point is the chiller installation and the availability of chilled water for the high school. We had given Noresco April 19th, which is Monday, as the deadline. And I'm excited to report that they are telling me as of a few hours ago that we're still on target.
Yay.
That's not to say that everything in the chilled water plant will be finished, but we will be able to make chilled water. And if we get a day or two in the next few weeks where we have to run the chiller to cool the classrooms and the occupied spaces of the high school, we will have that available.
Yay.
So far, so good. The manufacturer's rep has been on site since yesterday, starting up the machine. Excuse me. And I popped over the last few lunch times, and it seems like it's going very well. There have been some material lead time issues. I think there's a pump lagging behind, but that's a backup pump, so we would be able to operate on the one pump that is currently installed and operating. So fingers crossed, over the next few days everything comes together, and we should be able to make chilled water next week.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. It's all about on time today, under budget and on time.
That's right. That's right. Just moving through the other items here. The classroom lighting samples have been installed. If you recall, we asked Noresco to put samples in rather than to deploy the new lighting district-wide without us having an opportunity to review the lighting in a true classroom setting.
Yep.
We've completed that installation. I've had the opportunity to look at the two classrooms in Hereford, the two in the high school. I have not seen the one yet at Marlboro or 4-5, but of the four that I've reviewed and the feedback that I've gotten, so far so good. Nothing, it's kind of a soft white, very uniform. I was hoping for basically a non-event, and that's what happened. I didn't get any major objections. In fact, I think one of the teachers at the high school actually made a comment to Dr. Carpenter that he liked the lighting, and it was an improvement over what he had previously. So I plan to get around to those other two schools, and we should be able to kind of sign off on those and give them the green light to begin the process of retrofitting the majority of the rest of the fixtures in the district.
Good. 2 for 2.
2 for 2. Yep. That is so far so good. The next item, we've discussed this item before, the abatement that's planned for this summer. There's been a number of tours that have taken place. There's been some engineering work in terms of potential rerouting of piping if we choose not to abate a particular area. As of this meeting, the specifications are kind of underway there. So I've asked Noresco when they send it out to their abatement contractors to be very specific and line item each of the areas. So when that pricing comes back, we can look at it individually and not in the aggregate and make some decisions in consultation with Provident and ICS and, you know, potentially any value engineering that happens in 1B. So
Okay,
that is moving along.
good. That's great. Any questions about any of that so far? An audience too, just unmute yourself and say so if you need to. Okay, well, we'll move on to the use of facilities by the Kiwanis.
Just refreshing everyone's memory, the Kiwanis Baseball Organization had submitted a field use request for the fields at the high school and the larger field at 4-5, essentially from mid-April through I believe it was about mid-October. We had the representatives with us at the last facilities committee meeting, educating us on their organization's background with the school district and their specific health and safety plan. The feedback coming out of that meeting was we really wanted to see their use request be a little more detailed and actually itemized what times they were looking for on what dates. And they have since provided that document to us. You have it here somewhere. Just bear with me one second.
I looked at it briefly and it does look a lot more detailed, which is great.
It is. It's much more detailed. I've asked Mr. Kurzwig to review it as well. There are an occasional conflict, like for example, June 10th being graduation. You know, we wouldn't want the grounds being used during that event. But all in all, the consensus has been that we can accommodate this request with an ongoing dialogue. There may be certain days or certain weeks where there have to be adjustments. Another example is that the high school boys are scheduled to practice most Saturdays until noon. So we may ask Kiwanis to not start until 12:30, for example, just so we can, you know, get one group off and get the second group on. But all in all, based on the essentially weekend usage in the beginning part of May and then transitioning to weekday usage once high school ball is complete, it's my recommendation that we allow this, or we honor this request and allow them to use the fields, you know, with the understanding that it really needs to be somewhat fluid week to week based on what we have going on. And they've also committed to me that you know, anything that we require of them from a health and safety standpoint, that they are more than willing to accommodate. So for example, in their health and safety plan, they recommend masking. And I went back to them and said, you know, it's probably going to be a requirement rather than a recommendation. And Mr. Sager had no issues with that. So that's my recommendation. Dr. Roach, I don't know if you want to add anything there or.
Yeah, the other thing thank you, Doug. And I know you did a lot of work on this as well as a couple of meetings that we had. I think regardless, I'm sure in policy 707, which gives some people nightmares with what goes on in there. I'm sure somewhere in there, it already, regardless of COVID, it reiterates that, you know, the district facilities are for district use first, right? So if a student thing comes up or a rain date or whatever else, and that's been the long standing piece. So I don't have any issues with that in terms of that. This revised document here is great. I mean, it's exactly what we were hoping for, a little more detailed, and I think it's a win-win. It kind of, when they came back, the way it was originally written, it almost seemed like we were just signing over the location to the group as opposed to, you know, using the facilities through that. So I think this is going to meet everyone's needs. As a district, we are now heading into May, beginning for other outside rentals, or at least requests. We have heard the turf field for this group or that group, or maybe it could be another field here or there. But we'll have the same conversation. I don't want to be, I don't say this being rude or disrespectful to the board. It's really not the board decision in terms of the use of facilities. That's administrative. And I think this request is unique to come through the facilities and the board because we're in COVID and we're kind of in lockdown, quote unquote, so to speak. So it makes perfect sense. You know, and I think I say what I said before, not to draw a line because that's not how I operate, but ultimately you guys don't want to be at the Giant or the Wise asking if you can use the facilities. You're like, that's someone else's job to do that. So we're happy to do that and operate that. So I think this is a win-win. I just know we're going to get additional requests. And for some of you that were in the previous meeting, there was a request for an indoor use of facilities in the fall. I don't see any use of facilities in the indoors happening until at least September. Doug, tell me if I'm wrong with everything going on, the summer programs, the Giza and all that kind of stuff. So this move for May is we're opening the door and for outdoor facility usage within reason. And we have the discretion to do that based upon that. I mean, Kiwanis provided a tremendous amount of information to us and continue to work in collaboration. But so that's a good thing that maybe even if there are rentals with financial dollars coming in, that helps the overall budget as well. So, but it's still not wide open. We still have to look at everything and see the impact that it has on the facilities.
Now, it's really nice of them to bring that to us first. And yeah, we know we don't get the.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm not like that. I just, I don't want you to have that, listen, some of the times we'd love you guys to make these decisions, but, but no, this is, I think we're, at the point, we're at the teeter point. I think it was very respectful to get our seasons in and, graduation or whatever else things are going on. That's understood by just a long history of the relationship with any district.
Well, that was good. It kind of came through. The first one came through to kind of like you said, open the door for.
Yeah. Well, it's different. It's different because of we have been in lockdown for literally a year, right? And there's been no use of facilities since March of 2020, indoor or outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
And we definitely honor and respect the relationships with the community and want to continue to partner every way we can. That's that, Yep. That's what it's about.
Yep. Do the best we can. That's what we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I think that's terrific. You guys are recommending it, then I'm all for it.
How do I get along?
Yeah, and then, from my perspective, like I said, Mr. Kurzweg and I will interface with the leaders of this organization, probably, weekly or bi-weekly, just to make sure that schedules are aligned and everyone's aware of any, blackout dates or adjustments that need to be made. So,
Great.
We'll kind of treat it that way.
Okay.
Sounds like Dr. Bonnekemper wants to say something.
Oh, go ahead. I can only see 4 people and one of them's me, so.
Yes, I'd like to ask how this schedule coincides with the Perkiomen Legion Baseball. Perkiomen Legion Baseball will be celebrating its 75th year this year, and they've always used the high school field for their games since the field was started.
Do you know if they've made a request?
They've made a request every year for the past 20 years.
Well, I mean this year.
I'll have to get hold of Mike Fitzgerald, make sure he makes his request, but the Legion has always played their games at the high school. They have to play their games at the high school because this is an unusual community. There are no high school regulation baseball fields provided by any municipality. If you look at Quakertown and Souderton, Hatfield, and Lansdale, North Gwynn, Percy, all those communities, the municipalities provide baseball fields. The Upper Perkiomen Valley, no municipality provides any regulation baseball fields, so they must use the high school field.
That was part of the Kiwanis's
the Kiwanis and Legion are 2 separate programs.
I know.
They work cooperatively.
Yep, so, that was the only one we saw. That's why.
We haven't seen another request yet.
No.
The Legion and the Kiwanis have always worked well together. It should not be a problem.
Right.
That's good. Well, hopefully they get theirs in and they can figure out you guys can figure out how to connect them all.
Yeah, the number of games have been cut down significantly from Legion baseball. They had 22 league games last year. They only have, I believe, 12 this year. So there won't be as much usage for games.
Well, that's good. If you tell them, then tell them they need to get their paperwork in.
I'll talk to Coach Fitzgerald tonight.
Perfect.
Thank you
Perfect.
very much.
Yep, thanks, George.
Thanks, Dr. Bonakemper.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess we'll move on to the Marlboro Playground, which unfortunately won't be 3 for 3, but it's getting there.
Right. This is more good news than bad news, but the good news is it's we're very, very close to completion. You can probably see it from the road there.
Yep, looks great.
Unfortunately, when all of the parts and pieces were shipped from the manufacturer, they shorted us a couple of pieces, important ones that used to support the base of the slides.
Ah, jeez.
So that's why I'm having trouble on the slides. Not
That's
quite
it.
Right. Every time I go down, they wobble and
I know. Well, when you and I both went down at the same time, that was
That was
really
even worse, yeah.
And you're not supposed to go down head first.
that's
Yeah.
right.
that's right. That explains it.
Yep.
So every 2 days I'm emailing. The last communication I received was that the parts had shipped.
All right.
So once they arrive, it's a day on site to install them and concrete them in, a few days for the concrete to cure, spread the rest of the safety surfacing, and then we're open. So, fingers crossed again that we can make next Friday's date.
Okay. All right. It looks great. And all the trees down looks crazy. We went by the other day and I'm like, oh my God, it looks so bare.
It's strikingly bare. Yes.
It is.
It is. They've been out grinding stumps and they have to do a significant amount of turf restoration. I kind of laid into them about that, but they are on the hook to repair all of the kind of the rust things and grade and seed and straw and the whole bit. So
Okay.
they've commented over and over how soft that area is and just how constantly wet it is, and they're not wrong, but they're on the hook to repair that. So
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully it'll be not this Friday, not next. Is it next Friday? So far?
the 23rd. The 23rd is the new date, right?
On my calendar at work, but I don't see it from here. Okay. Excellent. That'll be great. We'll be happy to have that open.
Agreed. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Any comments on that now that I can see everybody? No?
I can't wait to take it for a test run.
Me too. Me too.
And you'll notice that, we went blue and gold for most of the play set.
Yep.
We had to get a little Marlboro green in there. So there's the one cube that's green.
Yep.
And that, the Marlboro green. So, we tried to capture
Everything. Everybody.
right.
All represented. That's
Mhm.
excellent. All right. Well, let's move on to our new business. So the ever lovely legal connections notice.
Yeah, so this is an FYI. We've been working with the Upper Montgomery Joint Authority. From what I understand, they have what in their business, they're experiencing what they call, or what is called, I&I issues during heavy rainstorms. So you have sanitary systems and you have stormwater systems, and never the two shall meet.
Mhm.
Having operated a wastewater treatment plant previously, it's a common industry-wide problem, but UMJA, during periods of heavy rain, their plant is really being overrun with stormwater. So somehow the stormwater is getting into their sanitary collection system. They've hired an inspector that has gone around to a number of the sort of high volume users, the high school and 4-5 being two of them, and conducted interior and exterior inspections looking for what they term illegal connections. So I know this doesn't apply to anybody on the Zoom here, but some folks tend to connect like their sump pump into their sanitary line at home. Right? You can't do that. That's illegal. So they're looking for those kind of things, like at the high school, where do the downspouts go? Where do the elevator sump pumps pump to? And essentially putting the onus on us to prove that all of those stormwater collection equipment goes to stormwater manholes and not their sanitary system. So we are conducting sort of our own internal audit. I am corresponding with their executive director on occasion, keeping her updated. I don't expect really to find anything. We haven't made any changes. I think, a lot of it has been in place since the 60s. We did dig out the 1966 versions of the prints, and there's a very expansive stormwater collection system for the high school. So I would be surprised that, if there was anything significant found at either school. So it's ongoing with them. But
They've been
sent us
testing a lot.
some, I'll just call them solicitor authored letters. So we want to be attentive to that and continue to work with them.
Yeah, they've been going all over the place doing smoke testing. It sends the smoke back up through to see if it comes around outside. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
They've been
they
working on
mentioned,
that for a while.
right. They mentioned coming into the high school potentially to perform dye testing. So if we'll have to talk about, whether we want to permit them to do that or not, if it gets to that. Hopefully I can prove to them that, we don't have any of these illegal connections. But, time will tell.
Yep. Okay. All right. Keep us posted.
We will do that.
Okay. So high school has a primary voting location instead of where?
Instead of the Red Hill Firehouse.
Oh, okay.
So apparently there was some type of issue over there. I'm not sure exactly what that issue was, but we were contacted by the Montgomery County Board of Elections and asked if we would be amenable to them using the high school as the Red Hill polling location. We agreed, and then the lease document was presented to us from the county, and after review, it shows that they're asking for a 1-year term. So I went back to them and I said, my understanding was this was temporary, and now, it doesn't appear to be based on the terms of that lease agreement. They've since written me back and said, we can terminate the lease. I think it was maybe 60 days notice, but they would really appreciate it if they could use the high school for a full election cycle. So both the primary and the general election.
They must have moved it because it was at the Red Hill Borough Building.
Maybe
That's where it always was.
you might be right, Melanie. It may be there, and but for some reason I could have sworn it was the Red Hill Firehouse.
Yeah, they specifically said Red Hill Fire Company.
Yeah.
It was at the Borough Building.
Yeah.
I live right down the street from.
Yep.
And that's where I went. Yeah.
I
Right.
campaigned there.
When it was normal.
So
Yeah.
our approach is essentially, they're in service days for us, which, helps tremendously. And the previous time that we accommodated them, we set up in the auxiliary gym. So it's close to an accessible entrance, and the folks can kind of get in and get out. We don't have any ability to mandate, masking or distancing or anything like that, unfortunately. So, the good news is we won't be open for school on those days.
Yeah, the calendar that we just approved for next year already has that day as an in-service day, mostly because of Hereford, and that's already a polling place.
Yep.
And I know the Ed Center, but that's not the main point. Not having that mix of public with
Kids.
with kids. So and I think we all know once it's in, it's going to stay in, right? And it's just seems to be the norm because it is a facility like that. So again, it goes back to supporting the community and that type of thing. So.
Okay. So we have any issue with that? You guys good with that?
I'm okay with it. I don't, they they did I'd say a good job of sanitizing after we let them use it once before. I did volunteer Dr. Farina for antigen testing. That
Yeah. Are they still using Marlboro Elementary this year too?
No, they've gone back. They've gone back to everywhere else but this request for us.
Okay,
so it'll be
During the
high school ed center in Hereford.
good. I'm glad I know that since I'm running again this year. Probably a good time to know that. Okay. All right. Well, if you guys are okay with it, I'm okay with it. I mean, it is
Okay.
what it is, and at least we're
Yeah.
already closed, so that's not so bad.
Yeah, if we had students in, and I would not recommend it at all. I just think it's too much of too much of an unknown. I mean, and we know the primary versus the normal election are two different things as well, but
Yep.
consistency is important there. I
Okay.
never, just the lesson I learned through this was to never get involved with an election at all. Even when I had a building that was a polling place and had school in session, I asked all the teachers to move to another parking lot, just so that we didn't have to hear about parking and no parking and handicap. Just didn't have it. Let's not have any impact on an election.
Right.
Right.
Don't get involved. Just
Giving you sanctions like Russia.
do your civic duty and stay out of it, because you don't want people to say this person won or that person voted or this was because there was a traffic or there was this or
Yep.
not worth it. Too
Okay.
important.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So how are we making out then with the contracted security guards? What do we have going out in RFP? We have a bunch of places we can send it to, I hope.
Yeah, so we, as you know, Mr. McFadden submitted his intention to retire, I believe, July 1st
Mhm.
or July
End of the
30th.
year. Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah, end of the school year. And, it's our intention to certainly replace him with an employee. But we also have, as we discussed previously, we really would like to supplement his services with contracted security at the high school and the middle school, and really expand Mr. McFadden's position's role to be more district-wide. So our thought is, the budget's available. The thought is to issue an RFP to, I can think of at least 4 different companies that have placed guards in various districts in the county, and just see what type of or what kind of hourly rates or pricing comes back for those services. The way the RFP is actually structured, we're asking for 2 different hourly rates. The second one being for, I believe, 5 years of police or military service, as one rate, and then another rate for guards that wouldn't have that experience. We are being very prescriptive in that we want these folks to also help us with traffic control. So that is going to be a sort of job duty number 1 in the mornings and in the afternoons. So I think the RFP is maybe 85% there at this point. So I'm hoping next week that with Sandy's help we can get it out.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's a different. It's an approach that we've talked about in the past and previous years, and also with the increase, as Doug said, the traffic at the middle school and the high school, and the importance of Mr. McFadden and having the kind of a 3-headed monster there to tackle that each day. It's a lot. Doug and Jen and a bunch of us have been out to help make it smooth, and we're committed to the end of the year. And that's just as I mentioned at the board meeting, it's definitely a concern. So this is one way to approach it, as opposed to looking at hiring the advanced protection people, which then you're paying, what's Sandy, 2 hours for less than 30 minutes worth of work and all sorts of goofy things. And it's inconsistent at that point. We have not had luck with advanced protection, with the California company, whoever else.
And it's actually 4 hours they want you to pay. It's 2 and 2. So it's 4 hours
Right.
for, as Dr. Roach
About
said,
an hour.
for, less than an hour of work.
So.
Oh, well, maybe we can find a bargain and find bodies to do it would
Yeah.
be the good part.
The good news is we had a meeting today, Doug and myself and Jen from transportation and Chris and Brian at the middle school, just to talk more about what's going on there, to find some other ways to improve. And we're all not hearing negative, but more hearing some positive on the way things are going, which is good. I mean, the parents are getting in and out. They know there's some, you know, couple high school kids that don't want to be patient driving past the middle school and then flare their engine when they get past and all that stuff. But other than that, it's working. Just got to have the right personnel out there and that type of thing. You can come by next week. I'll be out there in the middle of the street too. So if you want to hoot, come by on your bike or something.
I'll bring my Camaro and I'll rev it up for you.
Wear your orange shirt.
Yeah.
I may wear my orange hat too. That way they definitely can't.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is kind of related to the security guard thing. I remember back when it was normal. So this is like a year and a half ago. What was the conversation we were having about having officers in schools?
I know we did have it.
Did we drop that, or are we still talking about that?
It's the same conversation. I think with Doug and I met with Chief Adam in terms of at Upper Perk to talk a little bit more about what it would cost in terms of, you know, because there's training involved. If it was an armed officer, there's training involved, and it was, you know, the ongoing support from the police if they were to hire someone and all that kind of stuff. And the dollar figures that we were quoted from them was well beyond what we had expected, and to not be feasible. His recommendation actually to us was to hire your own, and then we could help them train, but it would be that kind of thing. Like the impression of the old SRO that works for the local municipality from Chief Adams' eyes was they don't get them for that much, because once you have an officer that's probably at the top of their scale, because that's who you're going to put in the school that has experience with kids and that type of thing, their summer is really their time off because they've already just worked 10 months straight. So I think this committee here before, like you said, when it was normal, we were talking about armed versus unarmed. So now it's kind of a different approach. The dollars that were set aside in the current budget, the previous year, haven't been used, one because of the virtual, and we haven't really moved on that. But to be honest, I think we got a sense from the group here at facilities or wherever we talked about it, that there wasn't an appetite for an armed officer at this time. So I think we kind of retooled the conversation to say, let's address the issues that are here. Let's think about now with Mr. McFadden and the opportunity when to replace him and adjust some duties. I don't want to say it this way, but coming off Doug, but having someone that's focused on that safety and security a little more to do the drills and whatever else that is, and then address the issues with the traffic, as well as have additional support at the high school and middle school, have a person there all day. So just a different approach and different plan, all the same topic. I mean, I think if there was an appetite for more of an armed guard or police, again, we also, Doug, I believe you called the state police and they go, we don't do that. Like we had asked the same question of the state police.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we ever went to East Greenville, but it wouldn't make sense for that to be over there in the high school, middle school complex. So Peg, you're right on. It's pretty much the same conversation. We're just retooling it and kind of addressing multiple issues and being a little more conservative going in if we didn't think our community or the conversation about an armed officer, because I don't think we want to take on what other districts have taken on, where it's a whole police force and the training and all that kind of stuff. Again, we would love to have it. It definitely helps in evening events and having a full force. I think this is a safe step forward doing the RFP to see if we can add, in addition to replacing Mr. McFadden and adjusting some duties, providing consistent support at the high school and middle school through a contractor for at least a year to see how that goes.
Yep. I think that makes sense. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That way we're not locked into, we decide we don't like it or it's not working out, then, it's a contract.
Yeah. Again, I think Doug, I just saw the RFP. I didn't read it to that level of if it was a certain year commitment or if it was a 1 or a 2 or 3. I mean, with them in that type of thing, but we would get that back when that comes.
Yeah, I believe it was 1 year with 3 additional years at our pleasure, if we decide to renew.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Anyone else have any questions about that? No? We'll just continue on the discussion eventually when we get that out and get it back in and see what happens.
But you will see there's still a placeholder in the budget for this type of thing. If this type of plan that we have moves forward, we may be able to reduce that, right, Sandy? A little bit? Maybe able to reduce that based upon what was in the budget this year that is not at the level of 2 armed officers, let's say, that we thought, which actually, speaking with Chief Adam, Lily exceeded what that budget was for one. From them.
Right.
Yeah, for one.
Wow.
So this is again a different approach. So we may be able to slightly not it's not going to change it that much, but again, I think there could be a small savings in there as we get these numbers back and move deeper into the budget time.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to middle school landscape warranty inspection.
Yeah, last but certainly not least, if you recall, a number of warranties are in place at the middle school, and one of them is the plantings, essentially. Everything from grass to every bush and tree has an 18-month warranty. So at month 18, a representative from Barry Izard, under the direction of Breslin, came out to do their 18-month warranty inspection, and they identified a number of plantings that didn't make it through the winter, and areas of grass that needed to be reseeded. And a memo or a letter was drafted to Borough, essentially making the warranty claim on all of the plantings and the grass that needs to be overseeded, et cetera. And that has gone off to Borough. Sandy, I haven't seen any kind of response from Borough as of yet.
I haven't either. I talked to Bob last, maybe Friday, and he had not yet heard from them. But he was pushing.
Right. It's not insignificant. There may be 30 plus trees, it looks like, that didn't make it.
Wow.
So, trees that I've never even heard of before. So they're certainly on the hook per the contract documents to have those replanted. And we'll certainly follow up, and I'm sure Mr. Breslin will as well.
He will.
Okay. Wow, 30, that stinks.
Doing
had
the
plenty
math,
of
it may be
years.
more than that, actually. It's
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's 20. Yeah, it's into the 30s.
Yeah, we didn't have any warranties when we built our house, and I know we've probably gotten that far too, multiple times, and grass.
Right.
So yeah, all right. Well, I guess we'll see what happens when we see what happens, because we'll see when they come out and new ones go in. All right. Any questions about that? No. All right. I do have one more piece of new business, and it's kind of rolling it over from extracurricular. And so Dana and I had been talking about the basketball courts that, I almost said fields, the basketball courts that are across Walt Road, the public ones.
Mm-hmm.
And them being in pretty poor shape and condition. So
they are.
yeah. So I think, and we're going to try not to ask for any district input not input, but any district money on this, because we know we have a lot of other things going on. But Dana, do you want to outline what we talked about? And
Doug, you obviously don't have very much to do, so we thought we would throw this in your lap to try and assemble some ideas of how we can move forward to make those courts playable. I know that people use them right now, but be it the surface, the baskets, the lighting, do you have any experience at all with rehabbing outdoor basketball courts, or do you know where we can go to start piecing together some sort of financial picture of what needs to happen to make those playable again?
Right. Yeah, I think there's some low hanging fruit. I think the basketball backboards, with a fresh coat of paint and new rims and new nets, I think is certainly a start. The lighting, from what I understand, is functioning, but we have it shut off because during the pandemic we were kids were somehow shimmying up the poles and turning the lights on, and all hours of the evening there were congregate settings and basketball games going on that we had to put an end to. The surface itself, the macadam, the low tech is, crack sealing and things like that, but that's really more appropriate for a surface that you're going to be driving over, not running over. So I haven't rehabbed a basketball court per se, but there, you can do, milling and overlays. There's different products that could be deployed similar to the rehabilitation that we did on the tennis courts.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, so I can certainly reach out and get some ideas from, some professionals that do this for a living, and, report back to the committee.
That's exactly what we're looking for, a start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere to start, how much money is involved, because ideally, we don't use much in the way of district funds, but we solicit help from community organizations to get it rolling.
Right, yeah. The parking lot adjacent to the basketball courts is actually having some work done this month as part of our obligations with the middle school. We're required to do some crack sealing on Walt Road, so we extended the crack sealing into the parking lot as well, and some new striping. So that parking area will be in better shape, and then we can continue on and focus, or at least start to gather some budgetary figures on the basketball court itself.
Yeah, we're not making you do this immediately. I know you have.
No, I understand.
And Bobby Kurzweig was also in the extracurricular meeting. So
Okay.
We kind of pitched it there too.
Right. Well, the one question we have to decide on, I guess, as a group, is whether we want the lights to function again. Do we want groups to be able to play basketball there in past dark going forward?
Used to be that the main switch for those lights was in the shed, and it was locked. So you could go up the entire pole and you couldn't turn those lights on without getting into the softball shed.
Right. Yeah, I have to dig into that a little bit. I'm not sure how that was happening, but when it did happen, I did issue the directive to kill the breaker and make sure it was locked up.
There were breakers on every pole, but then the main switch was in the shed.
Yeah, I suspect, Dana, that the main switch in the shed was probably on, and it was just turned off at each pole, and kids were accessing those breakers on the poles and turning them on.
Darn smart kids.
Yes.
It's not like they had to go up very high. You just had to jump and you could knock them on.
You could put them on a timing system too.
Yeah.
We could, yes, absolutely.
Quick question for you, Sandy. When those courts were installed, from what I gather, it was an offshoot of the lighting initiative for Memorial Field, the softball field. Did that effort use school district funds, or was it primarily community funded that those courts got there?
Now, the courts were district funded. The softball was community funded.
Oh, okay. It goes back to the time of Lori Mole and Dory Riegner and that age of basketball. Mid 80s, late 80s.
Sandy, didn't Walt Schmidt forge the effort for the softball lights?
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys just have way too much background there. I'm sorry. But I'm glad.
One of Peg's relatives, probably.
Probably.
Well,
Yep.
Not
Believe it or not,
quite.
it was.
Well, not quite, but
How many bake sales did that take?
I don't know.
All right, long day. All right. Well, just keep it in the back of your mind, and maybe we can talk about it. And
It's not
Yeah,
a
I could
burning
even-
issue by any means.
I'm sure I could have the contractor that resurfaced the tennis courts come out and at least give me some ideas, and that won't cost us anything. So
sure. Okay.
that may be a start.
All right. Okay. Anybody have anything else for new business that we don't have on the list yet?
Yes,
Oh, go ahead, Peg.
my list is short this evening.
Okay.
I just want to kind of double back to the Marlboro Playground and strongly encourage you to install signage there to protect ourselves in terms of, again, I worry about, off-hour people, kids being on that playground and vandalizing. And, the next day we have the Marlboro kids come out to use the facility and something's broken and somebody gets hurt. So if you would please consider that. And then
Peg, there is a sign, and I took a picture of it. There was a sign, one singular sign that was installed as part of the playground equipment, but we certainly could include more. I'm trying to see if I have that picture, but I'll definitely look into that.
yeah, I think the more the better. Every little bit helps. It becomes a attractive nuisance is what they call it in a lot of cases. And so I just want us to protect the district,
Right. Yeah, the good news is we don't have as much foot traffic as we do like at 4-5.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, it's more of a remote location where who knows who's driving up there on the weekends at night to drink beer or, spot deer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And things
Yeah.
happen. So
Okay.
not that I ever did any of those things.
Yeah, I
but
was just going to say, how would you know that?
not speaking from experience.
Okay.
The other item is any status update on exterior cameras?
We were awarded the grant for, I want to say it was 17 or 18 exterior cameras. I think it was about $25,000. I'm waiting on a quote from the vendor, and then we'll be able to purchase those and then start the installation process.
Excellent.
So those would primarily be earmarked for Hereford, 4-5, and Marlboro.
Well, okay. Then I think once we get those installed, we need to consider high school. I mean, I think we need to consider all our buildings.
Yes. The high school does have exterior cameras now, but they're approaching end of life. They may even be past that. I do have money in my next school year's budget for replacement cameras at the high school, and actually some cameras for the Ed Center as well. So,
Great.
Yep, that's definitely on the radar.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Peg? You done? Oh, that was a short list.
I told you I had a short list tonight.
Good job. Anyone else have anything else? All right, hearing nothing else, our next meeting would be May. I don't know, I didn't look. Sorry, I didn't look.
20th, I think.
20th, yeah.
Oh, okay, 20th, thank you. That means my Face ID wasn't working quickly on my phone. Okay, so next meeting will be May 20th, and it will be Zoom at 7 p.m. And
Did facilities also cancel the June meeting like extracurricular? Or no?
yes,
Okay.
yes, we did. We did. So, but of course, we'll always be available if we need to do anything in a hurry. But there's plenty going on, so I'm sure it'll just continue on and hopefully smoothly right through till way before school starts.
Right.
Okay. All right. I would like a motion to adjourn if we
So
would be
moved.
so inclined. All right. Second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Nice to see you, George. And have a good rest of your night.